Hello, hello, hello. It's Lisa Copeland. I'm your show host, and I am so excited today to introduce to you. And I'm probably not introducing her to very many of you because you all know her, the woman, the legend, LisaBeth Thomas, better known as LB to all of us that love her. And we're going to talk today about this amazing, amazing course that she has put together that has literally changed people's lives. And it's called Outwitting Fear. And think about everything that we are fearful of. Think about everything, whether it's in life, or it's in business, it's in with your children, it's what's going on with the economy, it's a pandemic, it's whatever it may be. And what if I told you she had the key to outwit your fear? So go ahead and share this out. There is not a person out there that should not hear what we have to talk about today. So share, share, share. Sharing is caring when it comes to your network. I'm going to be back in just a minute with LisaBeth Thomas. All right, as promised, my guest, have you shared this out yet? I need to know if you've shared this out before I bring her on. If you've not shared this out, then you are doing a disservice to your friends and your family and everybody that you know in your circles. All right, so without further ado, I want to dear friend and guest today, LisaBeth Thomas.
Hey, good morning.
Oh, how about that kind of entrance?
Oh my God, I'm just sitting here trying to I was trying to record it on my phone to save it for those rainy days, blue days of, oh my God, that was amazing.
Oh, well, good. Yeah, I have more fun with this thing now. Absolutely. There's Anthony on here. He says, hi, Lisa and LB. And of course, our biggest fan on planet Earth, Sherry
Matthews. Yay. I was going to text her, are you going to be on the call? And I went, of course she's going to be on the call.
She's Sherry. She's like the best friend in the whole wide world.
She is. She is the biggest cheerleader. And her Eli and her Healing Comfort shirt. Let's give her a shout out for that. And we'll do that later too, for the Eli technology, the Global Women's platform that she's got it in front of.
Yes, it's
amazing.
So amazing. She's such a world changer. Hey, Tyler is in the house. Yes. Okay. So what I talked about in the intro is my very dear friend, my friend of very many years.
10 years, 11 years.
You have found the key to happiness.
I have.
You have found the key, because what keeps us, LB, from being happy 9 times out of 10?
Worry and fear. Mm-hmm. You think about that. Think about all the nights that you stay awake, can't sleep, worrying about something. You and I were just talking about, it's like that spinning wheel when you're trying to connect and it doesn't connect. Your brain just goes over and over and over.
It just plays and plays. It's almost like LB having one of those dreams. Do you have like a reoccurring dream in your life that it just pops up, and it's an old tape. It's an old tape of something that happened in your life a long, long time ago, but it's reoccurring. And 20 years later, you're still dreaming the same thing.
You're still dreaming the same thing. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing, Jan Goss Gibson's sister, Sarah Kyle, is a therapist, and she was telling me that anxiety is the #1 issue that therapists see. And she's a therapist. And anxiety is the fear of the unknown. Fear of the unknown.
Right.
That's what it is.
Right.
And you were a part of my people say your setback. Oh no, my life blew up. It was not a setback. It was, and you were there.
I want you to give everybody out there, I want you to give them the basis of how come you put this, and this is not just something you sat down one weekend and you put together. You have walked this journey, and I want you to take everybody through that journey.
So I had an ad agency, as you know, here in town for about 15, 16 years, LBTJ, and really successful. We were 7 figures, amazing, iconic Austin clients. And the great news is that I'm still working them, even though on the creative side, even though I don't have an agency anymore. But during that time, my partner was my husband, and we had a divorce. It just wasn't working. But during that time as well, found out he hadn't filed some personal taxes of ours from like 15 years prior, 10 years prior, whatever it was. And I'm talking to the tune of $120,000. And it wasn't like, it wasn't those Optima commercials where they, yeah, we'll clean that up for you. No, nobody could clean it up. And what ended up happening is he pleaded hardship because he was out of the company, but IRS said, your company's making money. And so they started coming in after the money and the revenue and the company. So the only thing I could do at that time was I was robbing Peter to pay Paul, because I was trying to pay them, trying to keep the business afloat. And this is really hard. This is really hard to talk about. I've gotten better at it. And you know that. You, Melinda, we went to lunch. I cried on you guys' shoulder. Sherry Matthew, all of my friends know it's not easy because so many of us, our identity is tied up in what we do.
Absolutely.
And I was president of Texas Women in Business, for God's sake. So here my world is
founder and president.
I was founding president. And so I had to close the business. I didn't file bankruptcy. Here's a little loophole. I went to a bankruptcy attorney and he was like, you don't have to file bankruptcy. You just have to close the business. That's how we have our laws set up. So I closed the business, but I lost the business and I had to write clients. I had to write account reps that we've worked with for 15 years and tell them what happened. How embarrassing. Well, the only way I could pay that money off to the IRS completely was to sell my house. So I had to sell the house, lost my business. This was May. My mom died July 15th, the day after we did Think and Grow Rich for Women. My mom died. It was all in that 3-month period. And you talk about fear. People were asking me, well, first of all, I didn't tell anybody. Only my tribe knew what was going on because I had to keep that face, that mask up, that everything was fine, even though I was dying inside. And you talk about fear, my life crumbled. But I can't blame totally my ex because there was things I was doing, patterns I was repeating, fears, and people were like, well, just call and get a new client. And I don't know, Copeland, you are a 1 in a million human being with your confidence and your all that. But when your life is crumbled, I could not pick up the phone and say, hey, let me come, hire our agency. There was no confidence. My self-worth, my self-esteem, it was shot. Somebody asked me not long ago if I was depressed, and I said, no. I said, but I'd never been depressed. You know me, I'm always up. And I didn't know what that meant.
Didn't even know what was going on, even your inner circle.
I didn't let all of you know because I was embarrassed.
Right.
I was embarrassed. I was mortified. And so then I said to somebody one day, well, if I go to bed every night with a bottle of Cabernet, is that depressed? And yeah, well, then I guess I'm depressed because I couldn't even buy good wine. I was buying the bottom shelf wine. I had,
it's bad when.
It's bad when. And there was a point where I didn't know if I had gas money to get somewhere. It was at that point, but I was embarrassed and I didn't know what was wrong. And when I finally admitted it, I remember Melinda was so mad at me at one point because I didn't go to one of the anniversary events. The only anniversary I didn't go to, I didn't have the pride to say, I don't have the $100.
Right.
And I couldn't tell her that. I don't think I ever told her this. So if she's on, Melinda, that's really what happened. And then you know what? She would have said, sit at my table.
1 million
here. Yep. You would have been, LB, what are you talking about?
Right.
But anyway, fear grips you. And I'm not talking just to the people that have gone through divorces or setbacks, because in this day and age of what's going on, fear is gripping. It immobilizes us. It's gripping the world. Yeah. But here's the amazing thing. So as I refer to that time period as the absolute worst point in my life, ended up being the best. Because it gave me time to go, what in the hell is wrong? Why are you not charging ahead? Why are you not fearless? I got your cap, fearless 365. I'm like, why am I not? And I realized it was fear had me. And so through self-discovery, going through course like Discovery, doing all these different things, I realized we all have core fears and they mess with us. And a lot of times we think it's the presenting fear, or like fear of failure, but really there's something even deeper than that. And that's when I started thinking, I have to put this course together because I walked through it. And when I walked through it, when I talk about it now, women line up and men line up to talk to me saying, thank you for being truthful, because I'm going through the same thing, or this happened to me and I've been faking it and smiling, but I'm dying inside.
And I think that's so much part of the old saying, and I never really knew what it meant until probably my later years in life, and that was pride before the fall. What does that mean really at the end of the day? It's that we're so prideful, AKA, you didn't want to even tell your closest friends because of who you were, what you stood for, and what you had accomplished, that you thought that you would be diminished in our eyes. And I think you found out afterwards it was exactly the opposite. Like, we knew something was wrong,
Yeah.
but we didn't quite know what. And I think it's important then to start digging in with people,
Yeah.
like when you, especially LB, what's going on in the world today, what you're doing not be more timely, which I know you didn't time it around a world pandemic, right?
No, I didn't. And the thing is that I've been talking on it. I've done the talk on outwitting fear. I've walked people through the process from stage. It was Rick Gibson, Jan Goss Gibson's husband, who passed away recently, was the one that said, you've got to turn this into a course. You have got to. And I said, Rick, I would, but I don't know how to do that. That's not in my DNA. That's not what I do. And he said, I know how to do it. So give it to me.
Right.
And he passed away while we were creating the course. Probably and I've dedicated the course to him. And one of the greatest things I think I ever received was the last time I spoke to him was a week before he passed away. And he called me really early in the morning and said, I keep running the video and the course and your questions over and over and over in my mind. And he goes, LB, I finally got it. It's to thine own self be true. That's what it's all about. To be true to what you want, be true to what your heart wants. And those are some of the last words he spoke to his children too. And to figure that out before you go, I'm still thrilled by that and touched. So that's why I dedicated the program to him, because he is the one that kicked me in the butt and said, let's do this.
Well,
So,
and so I'd like to give a tribute to his wife also. And I pulled something out. So 4.5 years ago, when I was making a major pivot, and I hadn't really talked to anybody about it, but I went to go see Jan, his wife, and I had this conversation with her. And she said, Lisa, God's really got a word for me, for you. And I was like, okay, what is it? And she said, fear not. And I was like, fear not. Okay. Because again, it's all about that loop in your head. Because today, right now, I would tell you that doors close. Sharon Lecter says this, doors have to close for other doors to open. And I thank God every day, 4.5 years ago, that I sold my dealership and that door closed. And so I left Jan and Rick's house that day. And that was probably 5 years ago. I left Jan and Rick's house that day with fear not, fear not. And I went home and I applied for a license plate for a car. I didn't own that, right? Because I'm still a car dealer. So I had a demo. And I sent this to Jan and Rick that day, that I applied for the license plate for the car I had not yet bought yet, knowing within 6 months I'd have to buy a car once my dealership sold. And it was fear not. And I kept it for 2 years on my car. And it was such a great reminder. And, because we do, LB, we fear the next step. We fear what's behind that closed door. We fear the dark. Okay. And if you think about people's almost weird obsession with the dark and being afraid of the dark, but what is the future? It's the dark, right? You're stepping into a dark area, an area that's unknown, just like a dark room.
Yeah. And none of us know. None of us know the answer. All of a sudden one day you hear one thing and then you hear, we're going to have a vaccine. No, we're not. This is going to happen. Restaurants are open. Restaurants are closed. It's a constant. I'm sorry, I'm flipping my shirt around. It is the fear of the unknown. And so anxiety, medications, domestic violence, human trafficking, everything is up right now because there's so much fear. Suicide
is through the roof.
Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible. Okay. So we all know what the problem is, right? Like anytime you come with something great, I will quote our dear friend Sharon Lecter again, you have a business or you have a solution when you solve a problem, serve a need. And so you have come out with a solution to a very real problem that I don't know one human on planet Earth, whether you're a child and you're afraid to walk into the dark room, You're an adult and you're waiting to see what's going to happen next. If you're going through a divorce, you're going through a job change, you're going through whatever it may be.
Whatever.
But you have come up with the solution
I have.
to the problem. So hold on. And so I'm going to put what Anthony says. Anthony says, my two biggest fears in life came true. So I just live my life fearless and relentless. Isn't that great?
Oh, Anthony.
Thank you, Anthony.
I love following him on Facebook.
Yes.
He's a great man.
He is. He's a good, absolutely. Sherry Matthews says, Jan Goss Gibson, fear not.
Yeah.
Tidwell, that's so wonderful. I met him once and he and Jan are so precious. Absolutely. Wonderful, wonderful people. Okay. So we know the problem. And anybody out there says that they have never one time in their life been grappled with fear, well, then I'm going to kick LB off the show right now.
Because there's nothing to talk about then.
Because you're the only human that I know that is not grappled with fear. And I guess you could officially be my hero, or you're the biggest liar on planet Earth.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. And like you said, whether you are going through a divorce, a job change, what's going to happen tomorrow, we grapple with it. And one of the things that in the course, as I have people identify right away something that pushes their button, a trap, something that steals peace from their life. And we start there. And the course is only an hour long. It's not that long.
I listened way back from Dallas last
I know. When you were sharing, I was so excited that you did it.
It was fantastic. But I'm not, I will tell you what I thought later, but it was unbelievable. It's so easy.
It's so easy
to consume.
It's just,
it's
literally going down, just going down. But it's starting with, and this is what I want everybody that's on this call or that is going to listen to this recording, think of something that steals joy from your life, peace from your life, that thing that you go, oh, that drives me crazy.
Money,
right?
Relationships, jobs, the economy, the pandemic, fear of illness. Napoleon Hill talks about, the things that people fear the most, right? We fear of illness and loss of money and loss of health are the two of the biggest.
Two of the biggest. And here's the thing is we're only born with two fears. Yeah, Amy did the course.
Yeah.
We're only born with two fears. Fear of falling and fear of loud noises. That's it. Mm-hmm. Everything else we've learned from our parents, from teachers, from siblings, from society, from social media, from news. We only are born with two. Just think about it. But the cool thing is if we've learned it, we can unlearn it. Because we learned it, we picked it up along the way. I had somebody the other day who took the course, wrote me, said, I had a fear and I realized it was my mom's fear. It wasn't even my fear. But my mom was always in this loop that I just carried on her pattern. And she said, once I realized that, she was like, oh my God, I am free from my mom's fear and my pattern. We pick up stuff along the way.
Well, think about like a lot of kids that were like our parents, that their parents were depression babies, right? Mm-hmm. And so our parents, they worry about money and they worry way more than we do, and we maybe should more, but it's because they learned that from their parents, because their parents went through the Great Depression. And so, there's that kind of hoarding mentality of that generation. And then this generation's like, oh, I can't do that. Let's do this. And so you're right. I totally believe that fear is generational. It's almost like a generational curse, which Amy Mills can absolutely speak to curses and generational curses, but it's true. Yeah. It's true. So how of those of you watching this out here, first of all, share this out. Somebody out there in your circle, tag your friends, tag people that need to see this. People need to hear this today. And I realize a lot of people are working today and a lot of people cannot get on, but share this, tag somebody in it, because it will change somebody's life. Because what LB is about to share with us is just a snippet of the solution. And when I say solution, I mean done. It's over. Now, I'm probably always going to be I'm afraid of falling, LB. I do not like ladders. For whatever reason, I can go up in an airplane. I can do anything. I can jump on a horse over a jump. I can do it all. But you put me on the ladder, I'm petrified. And
we were in Colorado 2 weeks ago and going up that. Sherry Matthews loves the $1 Million Highway. And she was like, oh my God, you're going the $1 Million Highway. And we were in Colorado. I thought I was going to throw up. I was like, I don't know how she does it on a motorcycle, but so high looking down, I was like, yeah, that's a real fear. That's a real fear for me. Absolutely. And I'm not going to share Sherry's experience with Outwitting Fear, but she was like, I want to be your first testimony. I want to do it. And when she went through it, she uncovered something that she didn't even realize it was buried down from when she was a child. And
Right.
I have things from my childhood, and my two fears, and I talk about them in the course of fear of not being good enough and fear of not being worthy, which are really tied together. But you think about that when your self-esteem has been hit or kicked somehow, and you need to go make a sales call or call on somebody. Oh, hell no.
Right.
I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy, or what if they don't like me? What if
or you show up for that sales call, and the first time that that there's any sort of adversarial pushback from that client, you just go, okay, you're right.
you're right.
My product's not good enough. My service is not good enough. And it's like, and that's another thing for you. You and I are going to do some things together on that. But it gets down to that. I mean, so that unworthiness translates into your business and into your belief system of what you're selling. And if you don't believe that what you do matters, or that your product is not the best product or your service on planet Earth, you're not going to make the sale.
You're not going to make the sale. They're going to see right through it.
Well, they're going to see through it. They're going to see that. Mm-hmm. But this is where, LB, that your course to me was so revolutionary as I was listening to it, because I'm always listening to it from a perspective of sales and business and this, that, and the other, because, I've talked about doing some stuff with all of our agents. And, and I think, in my mind, I think why, I feel like we represent the best company in the world. You better do business with us, la, 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 la. But somebody, and people say, why are you so confident? Well, I believe, but I believe in the product, but probably more so because I believe in myself. If someone doesn't believe, and that's so deeply rooted that they don't know where it comes from, think about how much more salespeople could be successful, how much more successful they could be if they could use your system. Yes. I don't know if system's the right word, to push out that fear, to push out that anxiety, to push out that self-doubt. And now all of a sudden they've got this new root of confidence. I don't know. I personally think that they could take over the world.
You could, because what happens, and Amy is saying it beautifully, freedom is available no matter. And that's the whole point. Once you know what that fear is, it's because what happens is that you don't even know who the enemy is. You don't even know why this pattern keeps happening, or you're being pulled back, or you don't stand up for yourself or stand up for your sale, or whatever it is. But once you know what it is, you go, oh, wait, that's what it is. Or I need to make the sales call, but I don't feel like it. Oh, I know why. That has nothing to do with this. But you have to know what it is to find that freedom. And that's the beauty of it. And there's several core fears, but they all kind of fall into about 5. They all, and you could say fear of failure, and you would see where it would fall into. But it's the fear, what I just said, of being unworthy, not good enough, being alone, not loved,
ill health.
Ill, and a big one for people that have been in abuse situations is trust. Mm-hmm. Is a big one, because and they have every right to be in that situation. But again, when you're in a relationship and you're going, I don't trust this person, but then you dig down and find out why, then you can look at them. And I did that with David, my guy, that I was judging him, and I say I would judge him through the cracked lenses of my past from what I experienced. And one day I went, I am so sorry. You're not what I was, the relationship I was in before. And so I was able to assess it differently and be me, unapologetically me. And there is freedom in being unapologetically yourself.
I agree.
And going for it.
Yeah, I agree 1,000,000%. So, where would you tell somebody out here? So I'm going to recommend that everybody watches this. It's such a small investment to go through your course that it'll change your life. But we'll get to that in a minute. What would be let's just give a snippet to everybody out there. What is, like, somebody out there and they're watching this today and they're like, Sherry says, what cracked lens are you looking through right now? What is it the first step you would tell somebody who's watching this today, who has shared this out, by the way? If you've not shared this out, please do that. Mm-hmm. Save somebody, help a friend, help a coworker, help somebody, share this thing out. What is step 1 in figuring out what, is indeed your lens cracked? are you, what is the first, I use the word unstuck. I know you use something different, but what is the first step?
The first step is identifying that trap. And so that's why I was going to, when your button is being pushed and it's a situation or behavior, it's not a person. So for example, let's say, and I use this example in the course, you ask your kids all the time, put your dishes in the dishwasher. Don't leave them in the sink. But you come home and there are the dishes in the sink and you're like, gold, right? And it's not them, it's their behavior. So it's a situation or behavior. It's maybe bills, maybe it's a coworker's behavior. It's something on social media that absolutely,
the game, not the player.
Right.
Almost,
that
right?
absolutely pushes your button. And here's the thing is when you know that button's being pushed, what are the triggers? And this is the first step of getting down there. What are the triggers? Are they emotional? Are you angry? Are you frustrated? Are you pissed off? What is it? Where do you feel it in your body? Is it physical? Do you feel it in your chest? Jan Goss was saying it's in her gut. She feels it in her gut. Are you clenching your fist? So that's where, when you realize that's where you are, it takes your brain 3 to 5 seconds to respond, not react. When you're in that trigger and you want to react, that's normally when you say things or do things you probably wish you wouldn't have done it, said it, right? If you've done that, where all of a sudden you're just like, oh, and you attack. Well, that's the first step of getting down to your fear, is taking 3 to 5 seconds to take a breath, look at your phone, say a prayer. I have a woman that says that her shoulders feel like they go up to her earlobes because she's so tense. So we turned it into a stretch so she could stretch it out. So it gives you an opportunity when you're in that fear, when you're in that gripped trigger, to respond.
That's great.
It changes everything. And literally what I do, my 3 to 5 seconds now, is if something, let's say David does something or says something, I immediately go to, I go 3 to 5 seconds. Is it me? Is it my feeling of not being good enough? Is it worthy? Is it something from my past? Or am I just pissed at him? And then I'll go, I'm just pissed at you, or whatever it is.
Right.
But take that time. And then what happens, the question, and this is the key question, why does it bother you, Lisa Copeland or Sherry Matthews or me, but not me? There'd be times that I know we've gone to lunch or had drinks and there's talk around the table and there's something that's really making somebody mad and it really triggers their anger. But the rest of us are like, no, that doesn't bother me.
Right.
Because there's a core fear tied to that trap. There's something behind that trap.
Okay, I'm going to really throw you a curveball on this just because it just made me think of it. So you talk about people getting together, and let's get the pink elephant in the room here, right? Politics. You have a group of people at the table. You got 10 people and they're talking, and 5 are just engaged, da 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 da. 3 are super quiet, and 2 are pissed off. Does this rule work when you're talking about controversial things? All I can think about is politics, religion. I'd probably be it. Probably politics.
Well,
right now.
It does, but we all know that is just not the place, because you're right. It's so controversial and it's so heated right now. I remember I was in an edit suite. And the 2 people, my clients, were very opinionated on something, and it was getting heated, and I was getting scared because I was like, oh dear God, they're going to pull me into this. They're going to pull me into it. And I have an opposite view. Oh no, they're my client. What am I going to do? And twice she asked me, she said, LB, what do you think about that? She looked over at me and I just went, oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't listening. I was watching. And I totally, because I knew if I got sucked in. So I took that 3 to 5 seconds to go, no, do not respond. This is not a good idea. And I would have lost the client.
So pausing, which is like my daughter says that to my young grandson, both of them, right? When they're, and she'll say, pause, right? It's a behavioral thing in education.
Yeah.
She was a school teacher, but it's just pausing and just getting your mind. Now she's not telling them, now think back. Is it me? Is it you? Is it this? Blah, blah, blah,
right.
But just the act sometimes of pausing and then I think the therapy is, right, the pause is the pause, but what you're teaching is what do you do during that pause, right? Pausing sometimes is not enough. Well,
Right.
and as for an adult, it probably isn't enough.
No, well, Sherry just said, don't get sucked in. But you're right. What the pause does is it gives you an opportunity to think through what's going to come out of your mouth next, or your behavior next. But here's the point. It's that pause. But what is it why do you get triggered? So because that thing triggers you, whatever it is that pushes your button, there is a fear tied to that. That's the string. That's the thing of going through that process and figuring it out. Because again, if it's pissing you off or making you mad, but not me, what is it why does that make you mad? What is the fear? And I have so many people, they'll say to me, well, it's, I have road rage. I have, I get so mad at people. And by the time we walk through the process, they get down to, they don't feel respected, which boils down to not being worthy or loved. I mean, it will fall into one of these categories, but you're not thinking about it, but they don't respect me. Where does that fall? It's not just they're pissed off, but it goes deeper.
Yeah,
And
no, I agree.
That's the part that's so cool, is when you dig down in there and find that. And then of course, they don't even know who you are. They could care less. They could be in an emergency.
You hit it on the head. I think it's people feel like this lack of respect, like how dare you? And that's probably because they've been disrespected forever. Amy says, honestly, a lot of political angst can be drilled down to actual fear. Of course. Right? Yeah. All right. Let's see what Anthony has to say. He says, the best thing on Facebook this weekend, when you asked Cameron, what are you doing? He says, just driving. Thank you, Anthony. He was kind of illegally driving at 3 years old, but it was totally fun. Sherry says, pause and use what outwitting fear teaches you. Yeah. And of course, your biggest endorser at this point in the game is Sherry Matthews, who says, I love outwitting fear. Okay, so that's just one little snippet. Like I said, I went through, this is probably one of the easiest courses I've ever taken. Yeah. Like I listened to it driving back from Dallas, and it was so good because, like, what do you do when you're in the car? Like, I either listen to books, I listened to the radio, whatever, but instead I listened to the course. I was very like woo-saw by the time I got home. And that is driving through Dallas traffic. So talk to everybody. How can people follow you? How can they get your course? What do we do next? Like, everybody is in agreement that there's not a human being on planet Earth that does not deal with fear and anxiety. What is the next step?
The next step is go to outwittingfear.com. It's that simple. Download it. You and I talked about the price, and I said it's $97, and you were like, what? It should be more for, getting people down there. But no, I want it to be so easy that people say that it's not, oh, I don't have the money, I can't do this. It's no, do it, because the freedom you will fear. Laura Fowler just wrote me earlier today saying, my fears are dismissed. I have more time and more money, all due to you. Because she's not spending all this time in this loop. She goes, that's what it is. I'm going to put you over here. Now I'm going to go do what I need to do. And she's an extremely successful lawyer. So to get that from somebody blew me away.
Yes.
Just loved it. Patty DiNucci wrote me the other day that, you can move forward and resume being or becoming your most courageous, unstoppable self. The testimonials have been phenomenal.
Yeah, it's wonderful. In fact, I have got you probably can't see it, but I've got along the bottom, it's streaming, outwittingfear.com. This stream is the best platform ever. You can. I
know. I need to change and get to this.
Girl, it's so good. It absolutely is good. Okay, so $97. I know everybody out there has got $97. At least everyone that follows me and you have $97. Yes. And so I would want to really encourage you, because I've walked through this. Everybody, I wouldn't even have LB on until I did the course. And I was a little late to the game just from my crazy schedules, but I thought, I am in the car and I'm doing this, and wow. So many things, so many nuggets, so many things that it was like, I should know that. Like, I do know that, but sometimes you need to be reminded of what you already know.
Well, right? And like you said, this sounds so silly, but one day I was at our apartment. I'm out in Blanco right now at the house, but I was at the apartment and I was walking through and I was getting ready to go somewhere. And I'm embarrassed that I'm even saying this out loud, but I said to myself, wait a minute, my fears go with me everywhere I go. And I know that sounds so stupid simple, but it was one of those, it wasn't, here's this relationship one and here's this one. No, those go with me to work. Those go with me on sales calls. Those go with me everywhere. And that's what got me going on this. And actually, you and I and a bunch of us were at Melinda's, and I said, before we do anything else, I have to tell you about this idea, because people go to seminars and workshops and they come back with these great nuggets, which are amazing, life-changing nuggets. But if that fear is down at the bottom of it, in 10 days, 2 weeks, they're going to go, oh, I thought I could do it. But that once they break that and get that freedom from that fear that's holding back, whatever they've learned, they will skyrocket. They will have the freedom. And especially in sales, that blows me away, the possibilities.
Yeah, and it is so deep rooted. I was just on the phone today with a good friend of mine, and she's like, "Okay, it's time for me to make a pivot. Like, I want to figure out what to do next. I'm super interested in what you're doing." And she literally said to me, now this woman is gorgeous, fantastic, and connected like no other human on planet Earth. And she literally said to me, "What if nobody wants to buy a house from me?" And I said, "You've got to be kidding me. Like, You're kidding me." And she's like, "I don't know. I'm just afraid. It's so different than what I've done before." But that fear kind of gives me an excitement in my stomach because it sounds so glamorous. I'm like, well, it's not glamorous what we do. It's raining outside, which is why I look like this. And I've got to go pull a bunch of for sale signs out of people's yards because they've closed in the last 2 days. Thank you, Lord. But like it's not that glamorous most of the time, but it's fun and whatever. And so everybody grapples with fear. Everybody grapples with something. And, when you're in business or you're in sales, man, you have got to, in the words of Jan, you've got to show up well every day. You don't have the luxury of not showing up well when you're sitting in front of a prospect. And if you've got this stuff, this tape that is playing, rewind over and over in your head, and you don't even know it's playing.
You don't even know it's playing.
You don't even know it's playing. You just know that person across the table from you sits down and they're confident. They shake your hand and they're like, well, I'm doing business with such and such nowadays, and they're pretty good. And that old tape starts playing. Well, if they're good, I'm not as good. And you're not as confident in your presentation, in your closing skills, in your negotiating skills. And that to me is where I got very, very excited about your outwitting fear is, how do you put pause on the tape that's playing in your head? Right?
That's it. And just think about
that tape in your head that you don't even know is playing in the background. Right. And it reminds me of LB. It reminds me of these 24-hour news cycles. It's like I will have the news playing on in the background where I don't even think I hear it. But then I'll go to bed, I'll lay down, and I'll be like, what? That happened, right? I heard that today. And I didn't even know I heard it until I laid down. I let my mind stop from the day's stuff. And all of a sudden now that tape starts playing back in my head from that 24-hour news cycle. And I think it's the same when it comes to life experiences and trauma and anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. It just keeps looping and looping. And again, think about all the teams, the sales teams, the employee who out there, every single one of them has something that's holding them back of fear. And if you could have everybody on your team outwit that fear that's holding them back, holy moly, what would happen?
And it's giving them the tools, right?
Yes.
Because I think, the tape is always going to play in the background. I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, no, it does. It does. It
plays. To this day, I don't care what I tell myself. I was up on a ladder at our farm the other day, and I was up on it. And my husband's like, get up here. He's building this huge thing. And I go, I can't go any farther. Like he was like, who are you? I'm like, no, dead serious. Like, anyways, I'm like, I can't. I have to stop right here. Like I was like almost sweating on this handmade ladder where I was part of what I was afraid of that the construction guys had made. And he's like, come on, just climb one more and just jump up onto this thing. And then at that point, I would have been about 12 feet in the air with a concrete bottom. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm stopping right here. If you can't tell me what you have to tell me right here, I'm done. And my heart was pounding the entire time I was on that. I can't remember being that afraid, but I can jump on a horse's back and I can jump over a jump and I never think twice.
Yeah. It's just that fear of that heights. And I know we need to get off pretty soon, but One of the things I do, because you're right, that tape still plays. It gets less and less, and that's the beauty of it, because now I know what it is, and so it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. But when it does come up, my reset for that is, oh, I know who you are. Oh no, you're not. No, you haven't worked for me in the past. You're not going to work for me now. Out of the way. And literally going from a 7-figure ad agency to all the things that we were doing to where I am now on my own, working still with all my people, but we're doing it a different way. I've never been financially or emotionally or relationship wise more successful.
You
Because
are a new person. Like even before I knew you were doing this course, you are a new person. The way you walk into a room, the way, you were always a happy person, right? Like that's why we were all so shocked when we heard when you finally admitted to us what was going on, and we were like, really? Like LB, if I would have gone through what you went through, I'd probably be in my closet sucking my thumb.
A bottle of Cabernet, cheap Cabernet. I was so excited when I got to the middle shelf of the wine. I was like, okay, I'm coming up. I'm coming up.
$9.99 bottle. Yay! Danette Tidwell, who actually is on my team. So I'm like, you better get this course. She says, this course will be perfect for me. I'm gripped with fear. Danette, you don't
Danette,
fear, but this course will change it for you, girl. And then the rest of it is that you work with me. So no fear, fear not.
Fear not. She's got the sign. I promise you, Danette, you will be so thrilled when you get down and you do the process. Again,
it's so good.
It's so simple. It's simple. If it takes you an hour, I would be surprised. Some people take longer because they walk away and think about it and come back. But others, I made it really simple because first of all, we don't have time.
Okay, LB, can I just say that's what I loved about it? Like literally the videos were over. Like I'm like, oh good, it's over. Like I don't have to sit and watch. I'm actually going through a real estate training right now, and each video is 45 minutes. Okay, you lost me at about 5 minutes. Seriously.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, but I have to do it for this certification. And I'm like, this is terrible. And I go back to your course where it was like, I want more, and the video's already over.
Yeah,
and
2 minutes.
And then we're on to the next video, right?
I think I only have like 2 or 3 that are 3 minutes long, maybe 3.5, and the rest are 2 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. That's all. I can't consume, which is why this show's getting kind of long.
I know, we got
it's hard to consume much more than that with our ADD brains. So with that being said, we're going to wrap the show. It looks like Danette is going to be your first student. Probably not your first. Share this out. Share it with a friend. Have a friend. Again, $97. Who cares? Like, who cares? You will spend that this week at Starbucks, right?
Yeah.
But to be able to get the techniques, to be able to get what you need to learn how to pause that rewind tape in your head, right? And cope through it and realize things. And I'll tell you, like even going to bed the other night, and I was like, why am I thinking like, oh my God, because I had the news playing all day and like I turned it off. Like, so now I'm conscious not to let the 24-hour news play at my house. Like I'm not going to do it anymore.
You're just breeding the fear. You're breeding it.
You are.
For sure.
So, okay, well, good.
Thank you.
Yes, well, you and I are going to come back. We got some other things we're going to talk about, but I do want to say for those of you Austinites, I've got the honor of being the keynote speaker for the Texas Women in Business, the 10th anniversary event. I was their first keynote speaker, LB, 10 years ago.
10 years ago at Shazy.
At Shazy. And I am going to get fitted for my outfit from Athletica tomorrow, in fact. Yeah. And I've got the honor and the pleasure and the just sincere honor of being the 10th anniversary keynote speaker. I was skinnier then and younger, but don't judge me, girls. Don't judge me, girls.
But I'm going to, I think it's September 11th next year, because we've moved the true gala because of the pandemic to next year. This is, we're celebrating. Everybody's getting swag bags. It's going to be amazing this month, but we want you, we were talking about the other day, we want you on stage because you were our first. So September 11th, if you could put that in your calendar to be our keynote at the actual live gala, because we will be live next year, folks.
Well, I would be completely honored. And, you know that, like, I love these women. And you, again, you were the most pulled together founding president of Texas Women in Business 10 years ago. And you were going through hell during some of that. And, nobody knew but you. And I believe that there's so much illness and cancer and everything in the world because,
We
because
hold it in.
we're holding it in. And it's just destroying our body. It's destroying our organs. It's destroying our hope and our joy. Yeah. And you are giving everybody the tools out there. The
Yes.
tools.
So share it, because everybody can use some freedom from fear. Everybody can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right, my
Thank
friend.
you.
All right. I love you.
I love you.
Everybody,
Thank you.
share this out. Outwittingfear.com. Outwittingfear.com. It has been scrolling. Scrolling. I have not started drinking wine yet. At the bottom of this show. And thank you, everybody, for your participation today and for tuning in. And until next time. Oh, and last but not least, for all of my friends out there, I've got a post up. You have about 3 more hours to register to meet our fearless leader, Tariq El Moussa, tomorrow, virtually live in a private event. So go check that out also. All right, everybody.
Awesome.
Take
Love
care.
you.